Hey, my baby. I heard someone speak on marriage and how she was speaking about does it matter what era you are in, if you are a Jezebel or if you are a Ruth, and what qualifies you for marriage. When you pray and ask God to give you a husband, He makes you ready. He does. He changes you. He makes you mentally, physically, spiritually, financially more equipped to handle a marriage. But when you get married, you are going to be tested and challenged and tried. It really don't matter when God calls you into marriage. You can be in your Jezebel era, minding your business, not even thinking about a spouse, and God will call you. You could be a whole prostitute, not thinking about a husband, don't even think you're worthy enough for one, and God will call you. You can be a Ruth who had just buried a husband, and God will have a whole spouse waiting just for you. You got to understand something. When God calls you into marriage, that's different from you asking for a husband. When you ask God for something, you have to wait until it comes. You have to get ready and in position and have a certain posture and mannerisms in order to receive such a blessing. But when God calls you, that's what a lot of people don't know. A lot of people teach on marriage, and I understand it's trending. A lot of women want to talk about it. People who are unfit want to be married. God has sons. I mean, and they are some beautiful men. And God has daughters. And God will link those sons with those daughters. He will do it. And then for some of these sons, they ain't no good. You understand? They ain't no good. And God will have the audacity, because He God, to put them with some of His best daughters. He will link some of His sons who need the most work. They look like they broken every which way. And He will allow relationships with those sons to be with some of His strongest daughters. Why? Because it's a calling. These women are called into these marriages to stand in the gap and love these men in ways they have never been loved. That's God business. It ain't got nothing to do with us. I've seen it happen. I've seen it. I've seen women stand in the gap for some no good men. And I wondered, why are they doing this? But they did it. And it seemed like my entire life they stood at that altar praying for that no good man until one day that man came around. But these women were strong. They were prayer warriors. They were holy, sanctified, set apart. These women were different. I admire those women. Back in the day, I didn't. I admire them now because that had to come with growth and understanding. She loved this man and she saw his value when no one else did. And she stood there in the fight for him. Even when he abandoned her, she stood there and she fought for him in the spirit realm and she won him over. And then not only won him over, she won him back to God through her stewardship, through her service, through her love. They got relationships like that where God will put people like that. He was the Jezebel. She was the warrior. Or she was the Jezebel and the man of God was the warrior. God does that. So we can't say what relationships are fit for marriage as far as in our eyesight. Because God said in His word, your ways are not like my ways and your thoughts are not like my thoughts. I do things different from you. I know people and I've seen visions. Okay, God showed me visions and dreams of men and women who teach on marriage, who cheating on their spouses. A man of God who I learned under. and I deeply admire. God showed me a vision of him with women who he is teaching. He's teaching these women, but he's manipulating them. And God showed me this, and I'm saying, how can he be so comfortable teaching on the subject and he's an adulterer? And he teaches on kingdom marriage. He teaches on ordained marriage. God wanted me to know that don't sit here and admire what you think is perfect. A lot of us are broken, and you can't be looking at people's life and their marriages and assuming that, they the blueprint. No, Christ is the blueprint. Have you developed a relationship with Christ? Ask yourself that. Are you in a relationship with Christ? Yes, I know you're imperfect. Yes, I know you have your faults. I know you have your problems. I know you haven't been praying. I know you haven't been doing what you got to do. I know that you haven't been reading your word. I know, I get it. But have you met Christ? Do you have a relationship with him? Learn him. Find out who he is, because you're going to need him. We all need him. Christ didn't die for us because we didn't need him. He died for us because we needed him. We need him. Without a doubt, we need him. You heard me? And I think when you take Christ out, the marriage is doomed. So, does it matter if you're a Jezebel or not? It does. You don't want to be a Jezebel in a marriage, because a Jezebel is what causes that man to fall into idolatry, and it will put you and this man in the lake of fire. We don't want that. Jezebel was an enemy of God. God will call, although he will call many women out of idolatry, because he's done it. He will call many of his daughters out of idolatry and into covenant with Christ. But it ain't about your husband. It's about your first spouse, which is Christ, because you are his bride. That is your real relationship. We need to stop focusing on this man. And I know we love our men. Let's stop focusing so much on this man, because he is here temporarily. This man gonna die one day. What is your relationship with Christ like? How well are you acquainted with him? How much do you love him? How much do you know about him? Do you know you need him? Because you do. You might want that man, but you need Christ. Okay? That is what we need to be placing emphasis on, because that is kingdom marriage.